Hello, and welcome to another webcast brought to you by Nerd Enterprises Incorporated. My name is Seth David. I'll be your host for the next 10 minutes or so. And want to encourage you to visit our website at www.nerdenterprises.com. Over to the left, that might be your left or my left. I don't know how the camera's going to render it. But one of those ways, on your left-hand side, you're going to see a big orange button that says Learning Center. Click on that. You'll see lots of wonderful full-length classes which you can download at a low price of anywhere between $25 and $65, depending on the class, depending on the length, depending on the nature of the content. Visit us on the web at www.nerdenterprises.com. We also have nerds available to train you one-on-one privately and record the session. The recording will look just like this, except it'll be you and the person, maybe me, live, but then recorded, and you'll get the recording, no additional charge. Anyway, let's get right into it. I want to talk about charts and graphs. So in order to do that, I am going to need to share my screen with you, like I always do. Large it first. Large and in charge. That should do it. And over here you'll see a QuickBooks file. It should enlarge on your screen. I believe it has by now. And you're looking at a monthly profit and loss that I ran in a sample company file. And I actually don't want to show you this first. In QuickBooks, you can actually run a report that shows you what you're looking at here. It shows you the sales by month. So you can get a pictorial view. Not everybody's a numbers person. A lot of people are sort of more image-oriented, and so it's easier to see the information laid out in a manner like this. And the way I've run this report, I'll close it for you, is I go to Reports, and I go to Sales, and I go to Sales Graph. And what happens is I get this boring-looking black and white chart, and I don't know if this is the default setting in a sample file, or if it comes this way now in QuickBooks 2010. Maybe they do that so you can save on ink if you print it, but I don't like it. So I go to Edit, I go to Preferences, and I'm over here in Reports and Graphs. You may start out in like Desktop View or some other section. You want to go to Reports and Graphs, and over here under My Preferences, you'll see Graphs Only, and see how it says Draw Graphs in 2D, Faster, Use Patterns, Boring, click OK. And now I've got a much prettier graph that shows me the sales by month. And I've got my legend here, which gives me the breakdown and the pie chart by customer. So this gives me a nice pictorial view. I can see that in the sample company in January, we did okay. Sales increased. We had a dip. Then in July, we had a boom. And guess what? You can double-click anything here to get a pie chart of that 1 month. I can close this, and you can double-click pretty much anything on here to get kind of an expanded view. And if you keep double-clicking, it'll run a report. So this shows me all the invoices for the month of July to see what makes that up. So, and you have a chart type report in just about every category. I can run company and financial. I have a net worth graph. Now that I've changed the setting, everything looks pretty. So I encourage you to go play around with this. If you're in your reports menu in QuickBooks, just about every section, you'll have graphs that you can run. Not every single section, but a lot of them. I said just about. Don't talk back to me. Just kidding. So here in Vendors and Payables, I've got an accounts payable graph. Jobs. I don't see any graphs here, but I'm looking very quickly because I also want to show you the other way, which is to run a report like this. And as you can see, QuickBooks has some very nice charts and graphs that you can run. They're very pretty, and they make it very clear how to analyze what's going on in your company. I love Excel just as much as I love QuickBooks. When it comes to charts and graphs, I love Excel a little bit more than QuickBooks, just because Excel gives you some added flexibility. Now, let's say I just want to look at the sales, same as I just did in QuickBooks. Well, I can export the monthly profit and loss, and I run the whole monthly. I can run a report just on sales, but I run the whole thing because I may want to look at several different charts. I may want to look, for example, at revenue, total revenue. So let's do this. Let's get rid of everything except for revenue and total expenses, and I want to see net income. So, and before I even do that, I often do this, I forget. I have to copy and paste the values, make sure that if I delete everything and there's a formula tied in, it'll crash my formulas. So there's my total revenue. Let's come down here. I want to grab my total expense. I'm going to ignore the other interest expense stuff. I do want to see my net income now. So let's say I want to graph this. Now the other thing is, when I'm graphing things, it oftentimes is easier to look at it instead of across. I want to be able to look at it sort of downwards. Instead of looking at it in rows, I want to look at it in columns. And while I'm talking, I'm just doing some formatting here to make it easier to look at. And let us transpose this. So here's my revenue. Here's my expenses. Here's net income. Let's get rid of everything else. Category. And what I want to do is transpose this. So I take the whole range, copy it. I have to move someplace clean, away from everything. And I want to paste special. I can paste the values, and I want to click here where it says transpose. And so what I've got here is, now it's the date. Obviously going down. There's my revenue, my expenses, and my net income. A lot easier to read this way when I'm trying to set it up for the purposes of a graph. Now, the rest is actually very easy. For the extra spaces, I want to highlight the whole entire range. And what I probably want to do so that Excel can read this a little better is just put the first date of the first month for the month that's represented. So this will be 1/1/13, 2/1/13, 1/13, 5/1/13, 7/1/13, 8. Stop it. 8/1/13, 9/1/13, 10/1/13, 11/1/13, 12/1/13, and my total I don't care about for this purpose. Now I've got it exactly laid out, exactly the way I want, and the rest is easy. I go to my Insert tab. Over here I have a whole section on charts. So let's just say we want to do a bar chart just like what we were looking at in QuickBooks. And even within that, it gives me some options. Let's just do a simple, I like some of these 3D ones. They just look fun. And right away, because I laid it out nice and clean, because I took the time to prepare, Excel knows exactly what I want. And I can click this and drag it to make it bigger. But it immediately, it gives me my timeline along the x-axis, and my numbers, of course, are my y-axis. Gives it to me in a nice 3D view. And now I can go and play around. I mean, I can switch rows versus columns, right? So I look at it the other way. So that's kind of fun. Over here, under Design, I've got more choices. These are kind of cool. I've used these when I want to make a pretty looking presentation. I did it. I had a financial model I built for a company, and they wanted some charts done based on the projected revenue growth, and I used some of these formatting options to make it look gorgeous. Gorgeous. Go to the layout, and so now at this point, again, you know how to get started, and that's my purpose here. I encourage you, go do this, play around with it, watch this webcast a few times if you need to in order to get it, and once you get it, then you can start playing with it and running with it. That's honestly how I've learned a lot of this stuff here at Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, just by playing around with it and seeing, what does this do? What does that do? Like a little kid, pushing all the buttons. Hey, what does that do? Let me push that button. See what it does. And especially if you're playing with sample data, it's great because you can screw it up all day long and it doesn't matter. But what I encourage you to do is actually take real data, back it up, because then the results will be more meaningful. It'll be a little more exciting and interesting to look at. But back it up, of course, because this way you don't have to worry about messing anything up. So, of course, if you're dumping data from QuickBooks to Excel, and you really don't have much to worry about. My email is seth@nerdenterprises.com. www.nerdenterprises.com is our main website address for our Learning Center. And you'll see a link there, by the way, for our online community. Go ahead and click that, join it, set up your page. You have more direct access to Nerd Enterprises as a company to ask questions, and we'll post content based on your questions. Sometimes we're at a loss for what to talk about, believe it or not. And we'll get you a video recorded based on your question, especially if it's a topic that's asked about often enough. Have an absolutely fantastic day.